Hello viewers, today we'll talk about microservice architectural pattern. In our previous videos we have seen serverless architecture, we have seen SOA architectural pattern, we have seen monolithic architectural patterns, but today we'll see what is microservice architectural pattern and how it works. So if you are a beginner to microservice, this is video for you. Before looking at the microservice architecture, let's understand first what is software architecture. Architecture serves as a blueprint for a system. It provides an abstraction to manage the system complexity and establish a communication and coordination mechanism among components. It defines a structured solution to meet all the technical and operational requirements while optimizing the common quality attributes like performance and security. These architecture decisions include the selection of structural elements and their interface by which the system is composed, behavior as specified in collaboration among those elements, composition of these structural and behavioral elements into larger system, architectural decisions aligning with the business objectives. Now let's look at what is microservice architecture. So microservices are very small, independent and loosely coupled. A single small team of developers can write and maintain services. Each service is separate code base which can be managed by a small development team. Services can be deployed independently. A team can update an existing service without rebuilding and redeploying the entire application. Services are responsible for persisting their own data or external states. This differs from traditional model where a separate data layer handles data persistence. Services communicate with each other by using well-defined APIs. Internal implementation details of each service are hidden from the other services. It supports polyglot programming. For example, a service doesn't need to share the same technology stack, libraries, or frameworks. So different microservices can be built into different technology stacks. Here you can see in this diagram, left hand side we have the monolithic code base where all the code is bundled together and deployed as a single unit. But in case of microservice, it will be decomposed into multiple components that each can be developed and deployed independently. A microservice architecture is advantageous over a monolithic architecture for several reasons. Microservices are easy to build because of their smaller size. It is easy to deploy and to scale, as a microservice can be added to any setup to run in parallel, to maintain, etc. In this diagram, you can see a monolithic application puts all its functionality into a single process, and when you need to scale, you have to replicate all the components together. So it scales by replicating the monolithic on multiple servers. Now in case of microservices, you can see each component is decomposed into several independent units. A microservice architecture puts each element of functionality into separate services and is scaled by distributing these services across servers, replicating as needed. Here each components can be independently scaled up or scaled down. The microservice architecture style is an approach to developing a single application as a suite of small services, each running in its own process and communicating with lightweight mechanism, often as an HTTP resource API. These services are built around business capabilities and independently deployable by fully automated deployment machinery. In this diagram, you can see there are multiple microservices such as account service, inventory service, shipping service. Each can be independently developed, deployed, and maintained. And if you need to access any of these, you can access it through API gateways, and internally they can communicate with gRPC or REST API or through Kafka or any event mechanism. Each microservice can have their own database or can share the same database. It depends on the microservice design, what you will do. So microservice architecture is a technology stack in which a set of software applications designed for limited scope, known as microservice, work with each other to form a bigger solution. Each microservice, as the name implies, has minimal capabilities for the sake of creating a very modularized overall architecture. A microservice architecture is a design pattern in which each microservice is just one small piece of a bigger overall system. Each microsystem performs a specific and limited scope task that contributes to the end result. Now there are multiple benefits of microservice. First is it gives you faster time to market. Changes or updates to an individual service can be immediately applied, tested, and implemented. It gives you modularity. Services usually focus on a specific objective and are decoupled among business boundaries. Third benefit is flexibility and scalability. Only the components or features that requires extra performance need to be scaled. It also gives you benefit of resiliency. Each service is isolated to prevent cascading failures from beginning everything down. Next benefit is organizational alignment. Teams are small and decentralized and centered around a single component of the overall application. And it also reduces the cost. Microservice lower cost by utilizing infrastructure and development teams more efficiently. There are some disadvantages as well for microservice. Due to disturbed deployments, testing can become complicated and tedious and often hinders some of the scaling benefits of microservice. Increasing number of servers can result in information barriers, additional complexity as the developers mitigate fault tolerance, network latency, and a variety of message formats as well as load balancing. Being a distributed system, it can result in duplication of efforts. When number of services increase, integration and managing whole pressure product can become complicated. Developers have to deal with additional complexity of a distributed system. Now let's look at some of the characteristics of microservice. First is multiple. It has multiple components. So multiple components, it can broken down into multiple component service. Why? So that each service can be deployed, tweaked, and redeployed independently without compromising the integrity of an application. This way, you might only need to change one distinct service instead of redeploying entire applications. It is built for business. The microservice style is usually organized around business capabilities and priorities, unlike a traditional monolithic development approach where different teams each have a specific focus on, let's say, UI, database, technology layers, or server-side logic. Microservice architecture utilizes cross-functional teams. Simple routing is another characteristics of microservice. So microservice acts as somewhat like a classical Unix system. The receiver requests, the process them, and generates a response accordingly. This is opposite to how many other products such as ESB Enterprise Service Bus work. It is decentralized as well. So since microservices involve a variety of technologies, old school methods of centralized governance are not optimal here. The microservice community favors decentralized governance, so its developers can produce tools that can be used by others to solve the same problems. So thank you so much for watching today's video, and if you think the videos are helpful, do like the video and subscribe to the channel.